Winter is here. It's getting cold and the holidays are almost upon us, so we need to find an airline that knows how to spread the Christmas cheer. Look no further than Austrian Airlines. Vienna is cold, but Austrian kept me warm, both literally and figuratively, as they whisked me 4,200 miles over the Atlantic on board their flagship 777. In business class, you can expect holiday-themed bedding, a literal sack of amenities, and catering carts stacked high with local delicacies, both savory and sweet. Now, make no mistake, this plane and this seat is far from cutting edge. In fact, the plane was ancient at 25 years old. If you're expecting mood lighting, dimmable windows, Bluetooth connectivity, or Wi-Fi, forget about it. But that's not why we fly Austrian. We fly Austrian because it's the charming way to fly. From the moment I stepped on board, I was treated like family. And that, in my mind, makes up for the older seat and then some. So bust out your Santa socks, grab a hot cocoa, and let's get into this winter wide-body adventure on Austrian from New York to Vienna. Alright, hello everyone and welcome to New York's hilariously outdated Terminal B. Alas, the stunningly beautiful and modern Newark Terminal B. Nah, just kidding. This place is, I would say a dump, but I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. They're doing the best they can with it. It's old infrastructure. Indeed, it was originally constructed in 1973 and was adequate at the time, but the growth of international traffic through the 1990s and the introduction of more security equipment post 9/11 pushed the existing facility to its limits.
Newark Liberty International Airport named the worst mega airport in the country.
Everything is so, not organized.
But the ticketing hall isn't too bad, given the higher ceilings and some semblance of natural light. Plus, they had the place looking fairly nice for the holidays. Doing a pretty good job decorating for the holidays here in Terminal B. Like I said, I think they can't just raise the place, but they can at least attempt to patch it up here and there and dress it up for the holidays, and that's exactly what they've done. Now at this point it's around 2:15 p.m. and our flight to Vienna leaves at 5:55, so plenty of time. And the Austrian check-in desks were pretty easy to find. Although, note these check-in desks are shared by Austrian, Lufthansa, and Swiss. And Lufthansa sells a ton of business class seats on their 747 and A340 out of Newark, so the line was fairly sizable despite the early hour. So I asked my man Elikai which line he thought would go faster, business or economy. Question is, so I'm flying business class, but it looks like the lines are almost equal right now, so which line do you think is going to be quicker? Are there more people handling business class or more agents? Or?
They're more hands-on. The economy is just the same. Everybody's going to check in.
I mean, it's so early at this point. I'm going to Vienna. Will they even take my bag right now?
Of course.
Okay. All right. Good to meet you, Elikai, man. See ya. No real rush besides the fact that I want to get showered because I feel gross right now. But that's the very, very small price to pay, I think. So we'll just wait it out and get this bag checked. Okay, thank you. Not the warmest bag drop experience of my life, but we'll let it go. Hopefully the experience gets better from here, and it most certainly did, except for one thing. Next stop, United's Polaris Lounge, which isn't another terminal, but well worth the trip in my opinion. En route from Terminal B to Terminal C on the air train, we got probably the best view we're going to get of our ride for today. I think this shot also emphasizes how inadequate Terminal B is as a modern international terminal. I mean, it looks overwhelmed with just 2 wide bodies out front. Terminal C is a slight improvement. It's about 15 years newer and underwent a couple of overhauls over time, and it now serves as the home of United. Now, where we're about to go, you certainly wouldn't know this is a 45-year-old terminal. Bingo, found it. So, in case you've been living under a rock, United made some pretty big changes to its business class product and experience back in 2016. And in 2018, they opened this behemoth of a lounge in Newark, clocking in at 27,000 square feet. If you're flying long-haul business class on United or a Star Alliance carrier out of Newark, or any other hubs that has a Polaris lounge for that matter, do not skip this. Yes, it can get crowded, but between the food and drink selection, shower suites, views, and general vibe, I think you're throwing money away if you don't at least stop by. I think it's safe to say I juiced my Polaris access to the max on this day, as I had both breakfast and lunch there, then of course was sure to utilize one of the shower suites. Now, even though it was indeed packed in the afternoon, the staff was incredible. I appreciate it. Food was restocked, tables were kept clean, and shower suites were rotated with ease. Around 4:40, it was time to say goodbye, so we could give ourselves adequate time to get back to Terminal B. Thank you. Have a good night. Really, really pleasant visit to the Polaris Lounge. It's hard to complain, honestly. Even if that place is mobbed, it's just so nice. Just like a step above most of your airport lounges. Super grateful to have had access to it, obviously. So it is about 4:40. Flight boards in about 15 minutes. We're in Terminal C right now. We got to get to Terminal B. Our plane is at, I think, B68. There's a shuttle that takes you from C to B behind security. You can't do it the other way around, but you can do it from C to B, which is pretty clutch. So for the people that are using the Polaris Lounge that have a flight departing from B, you guys can take this this shuttle, and hopefully it's here when we get to the stop, because we don't have a ton of time before boarding. It was indeed there waiting for us, and the journey over to B took just a little under 5 minutes. Good. I was just taking a quick picture of the plane right here. Yeah. Thank you. My Austrian. What? Why they gotta put these things on my way every single time? So tempting. Chia pudding in hand, we continued our march towards B68 through this cramped yet well-lit walkway. Honestly, yes, it's cramped in Terminal B, and it's old, but it's very civilized tonight. Honestly, I'm positively surprised. It's like cozy, if you will. I'm kind of digging it. Terminal B growing on me. Maybe it shouldn't get raised after all. So pre-boarding was announced right around 5 p.m., but that process took ages. I think the plane wasn't actually ready. False alarm. They just pre-boarded a bunch of people, and then we seemed to be stalled. It's now 5:15. See if we can board an entire 777 in half hour. And around 5:20 p.m., Group 2, aka business class, was called.
You are good to go. Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much.
Thank
you.
The camera. You're good. Go ahead, go through the doors, please.
Appreciate it. Geez, that's probably not going to come through on camera, but wow, that is a beautiful looking plane. Wish it was during the daytime so we had better views. Danke. Good comment. Is it okay if I take pictures of the seat on board? Appreciate it. So great vibes from the crew so far, and you may have noticed the distinctive red uniforms, which I personally love. Very few airlines these days hold their crews to such high appearance standards, and for me it makes flying feel much more like a special experience as opposed to just a way to get from point A to point B. Anyhow, let's make our way to seat 1 Kilo, which is a throne seat on the starboard side of this 777. This cabin is outfitted with 32 of the original Thompson Vantage seats, which are over a decade old. The layout is pretty wonky. It's an alternating staggered 1-2-1-2-2-2 layout, which means that not all seats are created equal. The odd-numbered rows on the outside of the plane, my seat included, have way more personal space and privacy, and as such, Austrian charges extra if you want to assign these seats at booking. However, once the check-in window opens, they can be assigned for free. So definitely check in early if you want one of these guys, especially if you already have a seat assignment. But anyways, back to 1 Kilo, where a somewhat astounding array of amenities await. To start, we've got this cute holiday-themed bedding. Then, our guide to the culinary journey that awaits. How about an amenity kit that doubles as a shoe bag? Of course. And to cap things off, for now, some headphones. As I was settling in, the crew came around, introduced themselves, and offered some pre-departure beverages. I went with the good old H2O. Then something unprecedented happened. We were served food on the ground. Nothing hits like a pre-departure nut. Yeah, Austrian doesn't mess around when it comes to catering. Pretty soon, the onboard chef stopped by to take my dinner order.
For the main course, what would you like to eat? Chicken roast, salmon fillet, and burrata ravioli.
Okay, it's good because I was going to decide between the chicken and the salmon.
The chicken also is good, I like it.
You like the chicken?
Yeah.
I'll do the chicken.
Yeah, perfect.
Go with the recommendation.
For the breakfast, would you like I wake you up?
Yes, please.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Yep. And do I choose the breakfast later? While I was exploring the seat, the purser came on to introduce herself and tell us a little more about our flight.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the entire crew, I would like to welcome you on board this Austrian flight to Vienna. Estimated flying time this evening will be in about 7 hours and 5 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you feel already comfortable on board, and I wish you a very pleasant flight with us.
Pushing back, about 2 minutes late. Basically on time for all intents and purposes, so starting off on the right track for sure. They actually boarded this thing really, really quickly. Kudos to the tug operator who's pushing us back. There's not a lot of room for error, let me tell you, at Terminal B. Now, unfortunately, the combination of darkness outside and the bright cabin lighting made it pretty difficult to see what was going on outside, but our pilots seemed to have things well under control and navigating us to runway 22 right for takeoff.
Good evening, Austrian 90 Heavy, we are Wonderland. Ready for taxi with information over.
Austrian 90 Heavy, Newark ground, runway 22 right at Whiskey, taxi via Bravo and Romeo behind the tug.
Behind the toes, runway 22 right, east, Bravo and Romeo, Austrian 90 Heavy.
And sure enough, there we are, taxiway Romeo, headed for 22 right. Looks like we're number 2 behind an American Eagle E-170.
Good evening, Austrian 90 Heavy, we hold short, runway to the right on Whiskey, ready for departure.
Roger. Austrian 90 Heavy, next tower, 122 right at Whiskey, line of white.
Whiskey line up the white, runway to the right, Austrian 90 Heavy.
Austrian 90 Heavy, 12806, 122 right at Whiskey, clear for takeoff.
To the right, clear for takeoff, Austrian 90 Heavy.
Austrian 90 Heavy, contact near departure 19-2.
92, Austrian 90 Heavy.
After what was a fairly bumpy takeoff roll, our trusty GE90s took over and we made a sweeping right turn northeastbound. Once we hit 10,000 feet, I popped my tray table almost immediately and attempted to finish off one more work-related task before the meal service put me out of commission, but I was just too distracted. Plus, it wasn't long before the crew came by with hot towels and tablecloths. The purser also came by giving individual welcomes to passengers, which was much appreciated.
Hello, willkommen an Bord. Everything is good so far?
Everything is great
Yes, you're Mr.
Mr. Peter, yes.
Yeah, okay. So, enjoy the flight with us.
Yeah. What is your name? Incredibly nice, friendly woman. Came up and introduced herself, asked if everything was going so far. It's the little things, you know. Feel definitely looked after for sure. Feels like I'm in someone's house. So the hospitality element was definitely on point. Now let's see how they do with the food. Sorry? Can I please do the champagne? Do you have champagne? Yeah, of course we do. Now look how much attention is paid to the tray table setup. The crew member working my aisle, we'll call him Michael, made sure the various little dishes were arranged perfectly before preparing my drink. And here's the final product, complete with your sparkling water and your champagne. Note that triangular plate there is for bread, which I passed on because I'm gluten-free. However, even though I didn't explicitly order a gluten-free special meal, the chef was extremely apologetic and actually dug up some rice cakes for me in the galley.
I have rice waffle.
I did appreciate the gesture, but I passed on those. First up was a cute little amuse-bouche that appeared to consist of a little pancake with some sort of cheese spread on top. Sounds like a mini pancake. It honestly might be a pancake with like a ricotta cheese spread. It's delicious. This most certainly was not gluten-free, but luckily Chef didn't see me consume it, so we're all good. Then for our official starter, we went with the sesame-crusted tuna. Although to be fair, both options looked positively incredible. The festivities have begun. There's a lot of grandeur in this meal service. They've got the cart where they literally, they'll plate, if you want the green salad, they'll plate it for you. The tuna was pre-plated, but it looks pretty fresh. We'll see how it is. Not a ton of tuna here, but the presentation is on point. General theme so far is quality over quantity. It's a solid fish. Got some edamame and a sriracha mayo on top. They didn't overdo it with the sauce, which I love. So you can actually taste the, like, it's good quality tuna. If there's ever a right time to try fish on a plane, this is it, folks. Now, after the starter must be the main course, right? Wrong. It would be a travesty to dive right into the chicken before recalibrating the palate with a roasted tomato cream soup. I feel like soup is the one thing that airlines can do fairly well. It's a simple thing to just heat up. Indeed, it was serviceable. Nothing amazing, though. Pretty basic. Kind of tastes like an elevated Campbell's tomato soup. And another testament to the attentive service, my sparkling water was literally never more than half empty before getting refilled. And wow, there we have it, an absolute work of art. I gotta say, it does smell incredible. It's pretty well presented too, I gotta say. Got the sauce drizzled over, some peppers, a little carrot and zucchini, some sweet potato mash. Now, the biggest thing I think with chicken on planes is that it gets dry really easily. Now, this one's the complete opposite. It's nice and moist, it's flavorful, it's just the perfect chicken. I know you guys are probably going to call me out for having a low bar for airline food, which I admit my taste buds are still somewhat fried from COVID. But I will say I do have a good sense for whether it's dry or moist. This chicken's pretty moist without being undercooked. The sauce is kind of heavy. It's sort of like almost like a gravy, it feels like, but adds a lot of savoriness to it. So yeah, I probably spent more time analyzing the chicken than actually eating it, but it was a pretty awesome dish. And probably the healthiest one on the menu too, which enabled me to justify doubling up on the dessert.
It's a difficult choice.
Banana chocolate mousse, some fruits, some cheese, a little bit of everything.
Could I try the mousse and the fruit?
Yeah, sure.
Looks so good. Dankeschön. As you can see, that is a very generous portion of mousse. It was top notch, of course, and the fruit was a perfect complement. Now, we could have also gotten the cheese to complete the trifecta, but I had one more trick up my sleeve, and that was the chia pudding I had stashed away from that farmer's fridge in Newark Terminal B. That one definitely put me over the top, and by the time my tray had been cleared, I felt fluffier than a pillow. So when Michael came around and asked me if I wanted a digestive coffee or tea, I just about lost it.
No! God, please, no!
Stuffed like a chicken, oh my goodness, that was so much food. That's definitely gonna impact the sleep, but it was delicious though. No regrets. Definitely trying to get my money's worth out of this ticket. These teeth are definitely gonna need a proper cleaning after that meal. So let's go fishing in that shoesackle for a toothbrush. And remember, you are not done until you sing happy birthday twice. And by the way, this is one of 3 lavatories available to business class passengers. It was pretty spacious and kept clean, but otherwise kind of retro and quite bare bones in terms of extra amenities. Let's get out of here and get that bed set up. Shades. And then we're gonna need to do a time check before we pass out here, and then kind of make sure all of our devices are charging, and then shut the windows too in case it gets light before we get up. I know I get really whiny when it comes to flights and being tired. This is a true privilege, don't get me wrong. I definitely would rather be here getting 2 hours of sleep than on the streets for sure. Guess I'm pretty lucky. The ride's been pretty smooth so far. I will give them that. Pilots have been finding some smooth air. Hopefully that continues for the rest of the night. Cabin temp is approximately 75 degrees. And no individual air vents, so I ended up going blanketless. But my feet were really happy. This is the single best perk of row 1 on this plane. If you're not in row 1, you'll have a narrower footwell, which makes sleeping a bit harder in my opinion. And lastly, cabin lighting was dark enough, but it didn't really matter too much as I had some eye shades. All right. Good night, team. Good night, everyone. So,
About an hour and 45 out. You know, I said about the cabin tent. Honestly, ended up being a little bit like a sauna, but it also could just be me, honestly. Got a solid 3 hours of broken sleep. Try to get a little more here. Still got an hour and 45 until then.
Breakfast service started about 90 minutes out, but the cabin lights were kept off so people could keep sleeping if they wanted to. I was sort of in no man's land where I was too stuffed for breakfast, but also too excited to go back to sleep, so I just explored for a bit. The sun was finally beginning to come up, and I set up shop near the emergency exit window to get a proper view of the old turbofan. Before we knew it though, we vacated our cruising altitude of 39,000 feet and began our descent into runway 34 at Vienna Airport.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We've already started our descent towards Vienna. Therefore, we kindly ask you to return to your seat to store your carry-on baggage as well as laptop.
And return to my seat is exactly what I did, where I soon was absolutely hypnotized by the beauty of this winter Austrian sunrise.
I'm on my own, broken alone. I feel the rain crashing down. All around this empty town, I'm searching for the lost and found.
Now, I'm typically not a proponent of post-landing cabin applause, but it took absolutely everything I had to refrain from putting my hands together ferociously. If our spoilers hadn't deployed, I would have thought we were still in the air. Well done, Austrian pilots.
You're unaware, keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air, like a blazing flare. Just stare, 'cause the flames will burn us.
Dear guests, a very warm welcome to Vienna. The local time is 7:30 a.m. and we have just landed 45 minutes ahead of schedule.
How about that for punctuality? Now, I didn't have any connections to make, but I'm sure that passengers traveling onward to other destinations in Europe or beyond were grateful. Austrian talks a big game when it comes to seamless connections. Apparently, Vienna has a 25-minute minimum connection time versus 45 minutes for its larger Star Alliance sibling over in Frankfurt. But Vienna is obviously smaller and doesn't have as many destinations, so there are always trade-offs.
On behalf of the entire crew, I would like to say goodbye to you now. We thank you for flying Austrian and Star Alliance today. Have a nice day here in Vienna, or a pleasant and speedy onward journey. Auf Wiedersehen and goodbye.
Alright, as we're completing our taxi into the D gates, let's hit a quick recap of the old winter wide-body adventure. Austrian strengths are its people, hospitality, and attention to detail when it comes to food and drink. That dinner service was a one-way trip to Flavor Town, and I honestly regret not giving the breakfast a go. I'd also note they have a dedicated coffee menu featuring 10 plus locally inspired drinks, including the Wiener Melange and Einspanner. So be sure to check those out if you're a coffee fan. Anyways, let's talk value and what you get for what you're paying. If you're paying cash, this route is pretty expensive, at least for the dates I checked. So this was a great opportunity to put some miles to work and try a new airline in the process. All in all, I spent 126,000 Avianca Life miles, plus $171 for the round trip from Newark to Vienna. If you believe TPG's most recent valuation of 1.7 cents per point, that works out to around $2,300 round trip, which I believe is fair, as long as you go in with the right expectations. Older plane, older seat, but friendly crews, operational reliability, and of course, a member of Star Alliance, so easy to earn and redeem miles.
Alright, Dankeschön.
But as we reluctantly say farewell to this 777, I wanted to thank you for coming along with me on the adventure today. I love hearing from you guys in the comments, so don't be afraid to say what's up, or tell me about your experience with the Lufthansa Group, or just ridicule me for my pathetic pronunciation of German words. But until next time, happy flying, safe travels, and auf Wiedersehen from Vienna.